There's Manny's on that too. All right. Hey, so good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. This is Kellen Flukiger with our Speed to Profit Marketing Wednesday Hangout. We moved it to a new time today by 1 hour to try something out. We'll see. I may or may not have it at this same hour or 1 hour further into the future next Wednesday. We'll see how this works. I know that there are conflicting Hangouts all over the place. There is so much good stuff online that you could attend right this second. There are several that I've even said that I might attend during my own Hangout, which of course I can't do, but I sign up so I get the messages and can participate in the replay. All of us can participate in the replay. Today, we're spending 30 minutes on our Speed to Profit Marketing. This is broadcast number 25 or 6 or 7. I've lost count of the Speed to Profit Marketing series that we've been doing most of the year. And the reason we're doing this Speed to Profit Marketing for you that are attending now or in the replay is to help businesses, specifically to help businesses launch themselves into the 21st century marketing. So the first thing, today's series is on magnetic messaging. The Hangout talked about 3 things: magnetic messaging, what it is, why it's important. The first point was what makes magnetic messaging. The second point was, I wrote it down here, discover keys to magnetic messaging, and then creating your own magnetic message map. And so we're going to talk about those 3 things. But the first thing I want to talk about is, as many of you might know, Frank Kern, considered by many to be one of the godfathers, if not the godfather of much of marketing copy and marketing strategic approaches, is having another product right now. He has actually very few product launches per se. He's doing one right now about conversion. I looked at it, and it's really interesting. Hey, Joy, I see you've joined us also. The reason I mention it is not to promote it. I'm not an affiliate, and I'm not doing that. The thing that I want to talk about for a second is marketing, because he's doing, because it is so closely and powerfully aligned with the principles that we have been teaching in Speed to Profit Marketing. I love it when something happens that is both coincidental and not coincidental, but reinforcing in terms of the principles that we teach for effective marketing and doing good. So I view marketing, as those of you who know me know, as a service. We're in business to provide service. We're in business to add good to the world. We're in goodness. We're in goodness. We're in business to do good, to actually give real solutions to real problems. Anything else is hype and a waste of time. In this day and age, with everybody buried in information, content, bombarded messages, adding real good and real value is critically important. So before Christopher, I see, is on here as well, he indicated to me he might not be able to stay the whole time. With the introduction of magnetic messaging and the idea that we're here to serve, I'm going to ask Christopher if he has any comments or introductory things to say before he bails to do whatever else he might need to do, if in fact he does that. And I don't take it as a personal affront, Christopher. Please imbue us with your wisdom.
Imbued. Well, this reminds me a little bit, just the phrase magnetic messaging reminds me years ago when I used to teach doctors and their staffs all across the U.S. and Canada principles of hypnosis. And as part of that teaching, we would actually teach some of the principles of Anton Mesmer and magnetic healing, drawing out pain and removing it. In fact, we used to even flush the pain down the toilet just to make the additional impact upon the patients or the subjects in this case. And that in that case, we were using magnetism, if you will, to pull pain out, whereas what you're describing is a completely different process, which is to attract people, pull them towards you with an irresistible force.
That's right. And magnetic messaging, really, we use the word magnet on purpose, okay? You know, you put 2 magnets together and they attract if they're the right polarity. If you put the wrong polarity, they repel. Your messaging and your marketing is the same. If you craft messages that matter, and I don't know why we have all these M's here today, but we do. If you craft messages that matter, they will be attractive to your target market. Okay, now, the stronger the message, the more attraction that it exudes, or the larger fields of magnetic force, right? So what makes for a stronger message? In magnets, you have more mass and you have them different materials and so forth. You can magnetize them more strongly. So for messaging, what makes them stronger? Well, if you think about what makes messaging stronger, it has more resonance with who you are and what you're feeling. It is more powerfully attractive to your experience. So if you're trying to craft magnetic messaging, you think about it in terms of what will be the most attractive, the most powerfully attractive to the people you're trying to talk to. Now, this goes down to something we talked about a week or two ago, which was micro-niching or niching, becoming very narrow in your avatar selection. And sometimes people object to that, but this is a demonstration of the reality of that. The more specific you are in your targeting, the more powerfully attractive you can be. So let's use an example in movies. We make movies that are tearjerkers or that appeal to a certain emotion, right? That emotion can be rendered far more powerfully if your messaging is specifically attracted to a target audience. So I have with me here Dave Gray, who's also one of my clients. I'm coming to you from Edmonton, Alberta, in his glorious and spectacular offices of, guess what? A new business that Mr. Gray is starting. So I want to turn the time for a minute over to Dave and have him talk about magnetic messaging and how it applies to customers that he's trying to attract, because he's not in internet anything, he's not doing any money magic or any of that kind of stuff. He's in a hardcore, straight-up business about electricity, but it has to do with how much money we spend. So Dave, I want you to talk about your ideas, thoughts, and feelings about magnetic messaging and how this concept applies to you in this business that you're starting to attract the right people to you in a magnetic way so they flock to you in droves.
In so many ways, it's all the old concepts of marketing and advertising, but put on light speed now. Right? When we look at the way that we can attract people, I have a good example of sort of what's conventional, which is get yourself in the newspaper.
This is Dave with a beautiful picture of himself in the biggest newspaper in the province, the Edmonton Journal. This is a huge ad right below the fold, but almost the whole half page. So as far as the media success is concerned, this is awesome, spectacular, mind-blowing, free publicity, almost a full-page picture of his beautiful mug, advertising, talking about something he wants to do. Now he's going to talk about what did or didn't work with that.
So the purpose of this media release was to focus attention on electricity prices in Alberta with the view of getting people to do something about it. Ultimately, in terms of actually getting people to do something about it, although we are on every type of media in the province and just super saturated for about 4 days, from talk radio to evening news to current affairs program, we had lots of media. Even with that, we're right now under 500 people signed up to use the free app that we're promoting here.
And what does that tell you? It totaled, so I'm going to brag for him a little bit more. Both major papers in the province, morning talk radio, all kinds of coverage, a media bonanza. He barely got 500 people to take action. So what did that mean to you?
Well, it shows to me the limits of traditional media and that traditional ad buying model, right? When you think about how much people pay attention to news and how much, you know, they're led to read about things like what we've done through the traditional media, if you multiply that by 0.10 for effectiveness in terms of conventional advertising, that's sort of where you're going to be at, right? If I'd bought equivalent advertising in all these media outlets, it would have cost me tens of thousands of bucks, and I would have ended up with less than, the number of people we get out of this. Now, our ultimate strategy is social. So this was a good start to kick off now the next campaigns that we've got and the new app that we've got coming out and the contest that we're going to run. All of the things that I planned for us to do in terms of outreach are now based on social media, the principles that we've been looking at in speed to profit marketing, the engagement, the choice of avatar, and critically the choice of message, because it's very much like Ogilvy used to say with regards to advertising, right? Your copy is important. It is everything. You need to be talking to your potential customers like they were your brother or your wife, right? You need to be able to give them stuff that's useful to them today so they will buy your stuff tomorrow.
So this is a perfect example of tens of thousands of dollars worth of what would have been media buy. He got it for free because he released an app. Less than 500 people downloaded the free app that can be very valuable for them. And the obvious answer is the externally imposed come see our stuff kind of advertising is massively limited in its reach. Why? We turn it off. We hear stuff on the news and the radio, and it comes at us and comes at us and comes at us, and we just, we have banner blindness, and we turn it off and we turn it off. The new kind of model, and this goes right back to what I was talking about with Frank Kearns, is attractive advertising. And I don't mean pretty, I mean magnetic, attractive. It speaks in the words and language that attract you because it's drawing you because of resonance. And if you think about magnetic fields, you can make all kinds of parallels and parodies here, but it draws you to it. The way that that works is to craft a message that speaks directly to a need that someone is feeling. So we have talked, the first point we're going to cover today, we have covered what makes magnetic messaging. So as Dave talked about, and as Christopher also talked about, the need to craft a message that is speaking in a resonant or a powerful way to a need somebody's feeling right now. Now, when someone's feeling a need right now, like I'm hungry, you know what it's like to go to the grocery store when you're hungry, right? You buy extra stuff. Why? Because it feels good. Right now, I want to fill my cart with this and that crap. And an hour later, if you were full, half of it you wouldn't buy. Why? Because it's speaking at that moment to a need you're feeling urgently. This is what messaging and marketing is now. It is speaking to a need you're feeling urgently, not trying to impose a need from outside. And that is the traditional sort of external interruption kind of marketing methodology. And otherwise, the new kind, and the kind that Frank was talking about in his new launch, that Dave is now talking about with his social strategy, and that we try to do with viral, with YouTube, with Facebook, those kinds of things, is that attraction advertising where we're speaking to a need they have right now. So for example, in Dave's case, electricity, at the moment someone opens their power bill, it's too high, they don't understand it, they're confused, they're angry, and they're scared. Being able at that moment to say, wow, that really sucks. Would you like to do something about that now and get back to those greedy power companies and take the power back in your hand? So imagine the difference that kind of moment would have compared to a media blitz of a picture of a page that those people mostly don't know and talking about something, yeah, whatever, another app on my phone. So the comparative is easy to see, and that's what makes magnetic messaging. Dave, anything else you want to add? Or Christopher, unmute yourself. Kristen, I see you've joined us. Welcome. Joy, I see you're here too. So anybody want to add anything about that before we go on to point 2, which are discover the keys to your personal magnetic messaging?
I just had a quick question before I disappear here. Would it make a big difference as to when people receive their electric bills in terms of the number of people who would have downloaded that app?
No.
Not a timing thing. Okay.
No. The timing of the release was scheduled for a day we expected the power prices to spike. They did, and collaborated pretty perfectly with us getting attention with mainstream media. I guess the long and the short of it is that for me, it's been a lesson I've learned a few times that mainstream media is great. I've, in my career, been lucky to be able to get lots of it, but it's also limited, right? It's not anywhere near as powerful as what you can get from social media if you do it right.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Joy or Kristen, you guys have any thoughts about the first piece, which is what makes messaging magnetic? Okay, we'll move on. Part 2, discover the keys to your own magnetic messaging. Okay? Now we're going to talk about, the principle we've talked about creating magnetic messaging is great. Okay, now let's figure out how to apply it to your business. There are certain keys, okay, and we've talked about them in general terms. We did a couple of examples with Dave's electricity example. So whether you're watching this live or you're watching replay, which is where most people will watch it, this is what to think about. What exactly is the deep, most powerful need that you serve in your market? And I'm going to put on, Joy's not here with me, so I'm going to turn on comments so I can see them in case I need to do that today. So for creating your magnetic messaging, you need to think about, or you'll be best served to think about, what is the deepest need. So Dave, in his example, and I'm familiar with electricity because that's what my 30-year career was in, right? So we'll talk about that for a second. Even though I know electricity is about as interesting as watching paint dry. It'll serve some good examples here for a second, right? Power prices are confusing. Electricity is invisible. We all expect it to be there, and we expect there to be enough of it. So the need, the thing that resonates with people is when it costs too much or when there's a blackout. Okay, those are the two big ones. When I can't have it when I want it, or when it costs too much. Unexpectedly, especially. Those are the two things. So if I were working with electricity, and as I work with Dave's, it's around, does it cost too much? And how come it costs too much? And what can I do about it? And how come that's not fair? And that anger and frustration associated with that. And the second piece would be, okay, what happened with those blackouts? How come there were blackouts? What can I do about it? Was somebody being bad, or did it naturally happen? I mean, people understand there's lightning and, you know, stuff falls down, that kind of stuff. Everybody understands that. And there's never been, in all the 30 years I was in it, too much, a little frustration, but no big backlash about that. But when there's unexplained power outages like we had in California when this dereg happened, and they had some in Alberta in 2012 and 13, and it's due to not stuff breaking that's obvious, then people get really angry. So unexpected outages and unexpected price spikes. So in crafting that message, and I'll let Dave talk in a second, how are you going to craft those triggers into creating magnetic messaging? I'm putting you on the spot.
Well, what I'm going to do is explain to people that they can actually do something about it. So I've been doing a lot of reading as part of my Core 4 on, you know, the stickiness of messages. So things like the Heath brothers, you know, made to stick. What do you need to do to get people to make a change? Switch is the other book that I'm using to hypothesize what I should do. I wanted to find one thing that people can latch onto, that they can do, that will actually show up and make a difference. So what I've latched onto and what we'll be launching as a follow-up program will be lay off the laundry. Right? When the prices are high and we're running out of power in Alberta compared to demand, lay off the laundry. It's enough if everybody does it together to actually see it in the marketplaces and have an effect. And my hope is that with that, people will actually start to look around at the other things they can do. Because there's typically, you know, 10% of the power wasted in any building at any given point in time. You know, lights on, nobody's home, fans are on, nobody's in the room, all those sorts of things. I think that if I can get people pissed off enough about being jerked around in this marketplace, that they'll start fighting back, right? And so the key for me is to find that one simple thing they can do that everybody can latch onto, and then we'll augment that by having some contests. You know, snap a photo of your dryer with the door open, submit that for prizes, right? All the social media things we can do to build a movement to get people changing their attitudes towards how they buy electricity.
All right, so that's with something as boring as electricity. I know that there's power in that, and here's how come I know. In California, when they had the blackouts in 2001, the year after that, in 2002, the summer was hotter, and they had record low demand they hadn't had for years. And when there was surveys done about why, you know the reason? The reason was because people were mad at the power company. Because all during 2001, they'd had media and stories about gouging and Enron and all this bad stuff. So for months, they'd been pounding that in the media. It finally got through to people. People did just what Dave said. They got mad and they quit using electricity. Record low demand. record low demand with the hotter summer. So the idea that he's putting out work, now if you can do it with something as boring and as socially, I gotta have it and there's no question, as electricity, imagine what you can do with things that are more present and more powerful emotionally in your heart and closer to you, closer to your heart. Things that are really, about relationships, about perhaps your physical health, about other problems that people might be having in their lives that are imminent, tax problems, marital problems, kid problems, job problems, financial problems that are clear and present and more powerful emotionally than you normally would think about electricity. So I know it works. I've seen it happen, and it happened in a huge way across the whole state of California. So I know that the things that Dave's talking about will work. And I put him on the spot a little bit for that, but that's okay. So if you are thinking about how to, checking my time here, how to craft magnetic messaging, and this is something I know Kristen will probably have a comment about here in a minute, it is to figure out what the emotional triggers are that are associated with this problem, its pain, or its solution and paradise in your exact specific customer. So your ideal person, a person that's completely infected with this problem, what are those emotional triggers that you can talk about in the solution that you bring? And if you start languaging around that pain and solutions to that particular pain, that will be your key to opening the door for magnetic messaging, because then the words that you use will start striking an emotional chord in them. All right, so I'm done with the lecture on that little piece. I want to get some reaction. Dave did a great job being put on the spot. Kristen, I've given you 30 seconds of warning with my monologue here. Joy or Kristen, do you have anything to say about keys to your own magnetic messaging?
I think it goes back to being your own avatar. Thinking about reaching that person that is you. So with what I'm doing, I want to reach those people that are me. So I'm thinking about what am I feeling, and so I'm making a list of everything there, but I'm also wanting to come at it from an angle of what is going to actually make the money, because the people that I want to help are not the people that are going to be able to pay for that help. So I'm just that's where it's hitting me. Trying to think about
that's actually fantastic. One of the most important things that we can think about as an approach is what Kristen said. Are you your own avatar? So let me give you some examples. A fat person who loses a bunch of weight, gets healthy, is their own avatar. They can speak precisely in the language of pain. They were out of shape, they were suffering, they had to struggle about what their health would be like, maybe they had some health problems. They are their own avatar. They're able to effectively do that. A person who had a drug problem and they were addicted to something, and now they speak to those kinds of people. That group might have the same problem that Kristen's talking about in terms of her project, which is to have a voice for the voiceless. They may not have the money to pay, but there's other ways to address that. So we're not going to talk about the money piece today, because that's a whole different hangout, but we are talking about the messaging. And so being your own avatar, that means you have faced and overcome the problem that you are speaking about. So as a coach, my great desire is to help people maximize their gifts and talents, to do the most they possibly can with their natural gifts, to develop them, to use them for benefit. I am my own avatar in that way because I am an example of someone who's lived 4 or 5 lifetimes worth of stuff. Performing artist for 30-something years, had several albums that hit #1 on Billboard charts, got 10 albums up, so that's whole recording artist thing. Martial artist for 35 years, successful executive in more than one country. Yeah, successful executive in more than one country with a 30-year career at the C level, the highest level, as a successful entrepreneur. So a raging idiot as far as massive accomplishment is concerned. And so I'm in a perfect place to speak the language of the high achiever and to help them get a lot done. So I'm my own avatar. Kristen is her avatar. Dave is his avatar in terms of having suffered through, in the position he was in before as a consumer advocate, the struggles that were going on in the electricity market. So when you are your own avatar, you are able to latch on to those pains more powerfully and in a more real way to speak to the person that you're talking about. You don't have to be Okay, I'm not saying that's the only way. If you study and get familiar enough, you can have the languaging, but it is certainly a powerful way. Joy, do you have anything you want to add? Your face is a little dark.
Yeah, I know. I've got weird lighting on, but that's okay. Well, I've been on the road for 3 days too, so I don't want to highlight anything more. I think because with my 3 different things that I'm doing, speed to profit marketing with your internet marketing, internet media strategies, my own eBay coaching, and then the skincare line, I'm finding that I actually don't have to switch too much between, my messaging, because even with all that, again, I am my own avatar. So maybe the languaging is different, talking about coaching antiques and skincare and landing pages, but I think for the most part, the messaging that I use just comes from me, comes from the heart, and it sounds real, it sounds authentic. And I get excited and animated about it, so it's not like I have to really sit down and think about things. And even with eBay, for example, I have a list of, 20, 30,000 people. Like, that's a pretty big email list that I have to now start marketing to. So, and that's just something I've built up over the years with know, like, and trust. So I think I'm going to start looking to, especially with the skincare part, I'm going to have to start crafting something that will appeal to the demographic that we're targeting, the 30 to 55-year-old woman and man maybe too. So I have to really start to look at what it is, the message that I want to send out to those people. So some really good points for me to think about.
Thank you, and that's great. So the last thing we had is about creating your own magnetic message map. So that comes right out of understanding the second one, which is to discover the keys that you have. One key is to be your own avatar. If you're not your own avatar, doing the kind of studying and research that you need to be fully cognizant and able to use that languaging. So what is the map? The map takes some work. You actually sit down and actually work through that. Knowing that you're your own avatar is a great place to start, or having done the research so that you're familiar in language and in feeling with the pain that they're experiencing and the solutions they desire is the next step. But the key piece about creating your own map, I actually draw maps. Okay, so this is what Kellen does to get it done. I draw a map, and I draw a map with a canyon in it. I put a person on one side and a person on the other side. I always put the destination side a little higher than the source side. I create this side in my mind as the place of pain. This is the place of paradise, and I make a list. So what are all of the feelings associated with this state of failure, the state of not having what you want? If we look at health, I'm overweight, I can't play with my kids, my blood pressure's too high, I'm taking some medication, I run out of energy too soon, I sleep too much, I don't get done what I want to get done. I make the whole list. Then I make the list of things on this side. Let's pick something else. The electricity thing. I have control of my bill. I know what I can do to take care of it. I have a way to, quote, get back at the bad guys. I am in, I feel like I'm being socially responsible with respect to green energy. You make the list of things that you have, having accomplished that. If you're talking about finding the voice for the voiceless, it would be the same thing. Someone who's in a codependent, broken relationship, who is struggling under someone else's authority, as it were, who feels self-worth issues, who's struggling in that way and perhaps is engaging in self-destructive behaviors. On the paradise side, it would be the antithesis of all of those. If I look at personal accomplishment, someone who doesn't believe they can accomplish something, who's stuck in their own mind or listening to the voices that say you'll never do that. I mean, you can list all of those and then list the language of success, and then you start building the map. What is the words that I can start using to appeal to that pain and guide them to the paradise on the other side? And you can actually create a map and you start languaging that. So what would be and if you're your own avatar, this is really good. What would be attractive to me when I'm overweight? And everybody that knows my story knows at one point I was 90 pounds, 80 pounds overweight. Did all that 20 years ago. So what would be the language? Well, for me, it was about playing with your kids. It was about having health problems. It was about not fitting into my clothes and finally admitting I look like a slob. And, a bunch of other things that started appealing to me, in the face, and then talking about where I could get to. So intentionally making those lists and start trying out language. There's nothing that substitutes for practice. If I go all the way back to the beginning where I talked about Frank Kern in the beginning, he talked about providing value. In other words, in this scenario, it would be hope and guidance for your prospect to get from one side to the other in your marketing. So it's not just teasing with, I can help you, I can help you, I can help you, come follow my bouncing carrot all the way across and pay me all the way. It is providing value like Dave did with his app. I'm going to provide you a free app right now so you know what your power price is. And you can decide right this minute for free without even talking to me further to do something about it. And oh, by the way, here's a list of 7 things you can do. Leave the laundry out, or what is it?
Lay off the laundry.
Lay off the laundry. I got to learn the right words here. Lay off the laundry, right?
LOL.
LOL, right. Lay off the laundry. LOL. Lay off the laundry, LOL. And so that's already free stuff that he can do and is going to be doing with all, series of tips. Here's the things you can do. And then translate that into more value, and then people say, well, what else can we get? And that attraction is where the money comes from. That attraction is where the money comes from. So we've got a cell phone. All right. Sorry, we got a little phone in the thing. That's okay. So anyway, we've come to the end. It's 12:31. I'll open the mics and see if anybody's got any more comments, Dave, before you leave, or you're back. Final comments. We're back at the end of our time. Speed to profit marketing, magnetic messaging, why it matters, how to do it, how to think about it so you can create messaging that attracts, messaging that draws people in, not barrage messaging that repulses and pushes them away. It is the key to 21st century marketing. So I'm done talking. Anybody else want to say anything before we end our rapid fire 30-minute speed to profit marketing? Please put your comments in the thing below. I will respond to them. I am in Alberta, as you know and can see, being in Dave's glorious office here, and I'm going to be spending the next month up here with my wife and business partner Joy as we escape a little bit of the Phoenix heat for a month or so at this time, at this festive season of the year. Any comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. I've got you selected.
Right. Okay, yeah, no, I just wanted to thank everybody who's watching on YouTube. I know there's a number of people watching on YouTube, and I've been looking at some of the questions and some of the comments, so you can respond to them later. So just thanks, and it was a good hangout yesterday from the A&W. That was fun. A little noisy, but hey, it was cool.
Oh, I'm sorry. We did. We had the results on a Rampage hangout last night from A&W. It was a disaster technically. My computer crashed. The battery ran out. I didn't think it would. There should have been plenty. It wouldn't hook up. My microphone exploded. Everything that could go wrong did. And you know what? Held the hangout anyway. Results on a Rampage means that no matter what happens, you perform. No matter what things get in the way, you show up and you do what you say you're going to do. Results on a Rampage. Was it full of technical glitches? Yes, it was. There is the Roar T-shirt. I brought Dave his Roar T-shirt, Results on a Rampage. Okay, and so that's the name of my LA Talk radio show, and this is his T-shirt because he's in my inner group. But anyway, we did it. We did it from A&W in the middle of nowhere last night, and we'll do it again. That is the kind of results you need to have, and the kind of conviction and determination and commitment, that's the word, commitment, to get your stuff done. That's my rant about results on a Rampage from yesterday's hangout at the A&W in the middle of nowhere in Fort Macleod, Alberta. Kristen, you have any comments?
Oh, well, I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to. I wanted to give you some shout outs for doing that because yeah, I mean that's what it's about. It's about consistency. It's about being here every week. It's about being committed to what you've committed to and following through. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for saying that. You're certainly welcome. I did, and so that wasn't even all the glitch, right? I had a LA Talk radio show in the afternoon, and I had actually recorded it on the road, doing it, and tried to get it to my producer in LA. And we had a technical glitch on that. So actually at the hour, they replayed an old one, and we've uploaded the new one. We will upload that new one today. So the right one will be at the right date. And so again, despite being on the road, I did results on the road, and I recorded it. We stopped. We got in place. We did everything, and then another technical glitch kept it from uploading. Doesn't matter. It'll be in there today. So that's the answer to get things done. We've given you some assignments today. Create your magnetic messaging list. Get out the paper. If you just hear this and say, wow, that was a great idea, some good stuff, I got to do that one of these days, never going to happen. You're not going to get messaging, and you're not going to get more customers. Get out the list. Draw the gap. Create the words. Create the messaging. Practice. Am I lecturing? Yeah. Do I do that? Sorry. That's how things happen. I'm inviting you. Participate.
Hey, Kellen?
Yeah.
So one of the things, too, though, I mean, a tip for everyone, too, though, is that we started to do this, is that we'll call ahead to whatever restaurant, even the A&W or a McDonald's, and ask them about their Wi-Fi. It's like, is there a password? Is it good? You know, are there a lot of people in the restaurant? I mean, you know, we're being proactive, too, and just even on the road, we're thinking ahead, and we're not going to let anything, you know, get in the way of, you know, getting our business done, because this is a mobile enterprise. With a lot of people out there have mobile businesses, so it's, yeah, so we'll do that. We'll call ahead, and the people will get all excited because they think there's something really cool going to be happening as we set up all our gear around this table, and we order lunch, of course, but it's just kind of fun.
We did all that. We called them, notwithstanding all that, and they said, really? You're going to broadcast your TV show from our restaurant? Anyway, yes, the answer was, and it was not as good as we wanted anyway, but we did it.
It was a great show.
Thank you all for attending. Huh?
It was a great show. The points you made, I mean, it was really, really good.
Oh, the content was there. Thank
awesome.
you for saying that. It's not an issue of that. It was simply that the technical things, for some people, are going to get in the way, and the answer is, if that gets in the way of your progress.
Well, yeah. People, you're going to have a tough time, because that kind of stuff happens all the time. But the beauty of it is that, you know, you have to go with the flow, and despite those challenges, despite those technical whatever, you still push through and you still get it done. I mean, it's about results, and it's about relentless execution. Where have I heard that one before? Relentless execution.
Kristen, any final comments?
Yeah, and also trust, because when you do show up, then that makes you trustworthy.
Good point.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, we're done. We're a little over time. Dave, thank you for the gracious use of your office.
Glad to have you.
And thank you for your electricity. Prowess. All right. We will end the broadcast here. We'll see you on Saturday for Break the Cage, if you're coming. Next Tuesday, Results on a Rampage. And Wednesday, Speed to Profit. Take it easy.
Ciao, guys.